In today's video, I want to share with you my favorite tools that were most helpful when baking sourdough. So if you ever see people sharing their favorite sourdough tools, some of them can be very pricey, and some of them obviously are worth investing in. But sometimes you could be investing that money and not getting much return. So today I want to show you what I found really helpful. So to start with, I'm gonna show you the scales. So these are digital scales, they're really good, and I'll tell you why. So every time you add, let's say you add a bowl, you zero that down, you add a bowl, and it adds like 200 grams. What you can do, press zero again, that will zero down with the weight that is already on it and start weighting again. So every time you add an ingredient, you can zero that down and it will count again the new ingredient. So these are very helpful. I actually paid for them £6, which in dollars probably would be maybe $7 or $8. It was not from Amazon. I think I bought in one of the supermarkets, but they were very helpful and I still use them. And I probably had them for maybe 2-3 years now. So they were an extremely good investment. So definitely worth investing in this. The next thing, I had no idea, but this tool is super helpful. So, and I only figured that out because I think I was mixing my doughs, and sourdoughs can be very tough, especially if you're using certain flours. So I bought this, again, very cheaply. To be fair, this one came from Temu. And I can't put a link because that particular seller has sold out. But this tool, I had no idea how helpful it was. So what you do, you basically, when you mix the dough, and those can be very tough. You know, a lot of people have like standing mixers. I don't have one. So with this little tool, you can work with the toughest doughs and they will do a really good job. I actually use this not just for sourdough. It's great for like beating eggs. You can mix pancakes. You can do everything. It doesn't have to be sourdough, but it's a very helpful tool. So honestly, love this one. Again, costing me really little, but if you buy not necessarily from Temu but somewhere else, it could cost you obviously much more than that. One thing I'm gonna say, that this one came with an extra long handle because I think some of them can be shorter handle, but I think if I have to buy again, I would definitely get a long handle like this one. This is actually plastic, it's not wood or anything, and I'm okay with that. Because sometimes between the wood and the metal bits with other utensils, you tend to get a little bit of rust and dirt starts to collect. So I washed this in, or cleaned in a dishwasher so many times, and it's still working really well. So that was a really good investment. The next tool, I will say I definitely would recommend buying it, it's called Lame. So Lame, got to be careful. So Lame, let's go a little dough. Lame is basically for scoring dough. So why do we need to score dough? When you make a bread, and let's say it's a sandwich bread, the sandwich bread will stick into the form like this, and this form will hold that shape for the sourdough bread. But when you don't have, or you bake bread not necessarily in a tin like this, what happens, the dough could be expanding anywhere. But wherever you decide to cut the dough, that's where the dough will be kind of expanding out, and it's called sourdough ear. So you got that nice little ear, looks like. So when I started making bread, I thought, well, I can use one of the knives, and I had a fairly sharp knife. But whenever I tried to cut the dough, it would start almost like, not that it gets stuck, but it start like dragging the dough, and it just was horrible. It did not work, and I thought, let me try to buy one. So I bought one, but it broke recently. I bought one, and I bought a Banneton basket, and Banneton basket came with that Lame. It's called Lame, and it's very helpful. You technically could use just the blade to cut it, but a lot of them come with this little handle. This one I bought separately, and I thought that was also really good. So you usually, you usually put that in a, so this is 90 degrees, so you put that in a 45-degree angle and just cut across the dough. Or I saw recently someone said 90-degree angle, so you basically go and cut along the dough like this. But yes, if you want to make sourdough, I strongly recommend to buy one of these, because the knife won't do the job. And what else? Other things. Oh, Banneton basket. So I made a video, and I think that was actually yesterday, and I want to show you. So I've got 3 Banneton baskets that I want to show you. So I didn't understand what Banneton baskets were, because I thought, what are they? So this is my first Banneton basket. So they are usually made from kind of wood or wicker. Some bread stuck to it. I'll link the video below, because I've got a little trick how to use these Banneton baskets without getting your dough stuck like it is in this one. So they come in two different shapes, sorry. So one of them is oval. This is for quite large loaf. I would say to fill it up, you probably need nearly 1 kilo of flour. And then I've got other 2 baskets. They are different shape, so one of them is smaller and the one is a bit larger. I would say this little tiny bit smaller, it's great for if you're making like 500 grams worth of dough. So, but again, so what, if you don't know much about Banneton baskets, let me tell you very quickly in a very simple way. So you mix your dough, you let it proof for 8+ hours, then you take the dough out and you have to proof a second time. And when you proof the second time, most sourdough doughs they're a little bit more wet, so they don't hold the shape very well. So what you do, while they're proofing, you put them in these baskets to create the shape. You don't bake in these, because that could be very dangerous, so please don't bake in them. But before you bake them, you obviously flip that over, take that out of the basket, score it, and then you put in the oven in one of the like baking trays. So that's how we use them. And like I said, I've got 3 of them, and that way. And I would say I mainly use this one because it's so much easier to bake in this one. The oval one I don't use as much. I probably haven't used it for almost a year. So they are also very helpful. Do you have to have a Banneton basket? I would say no. For a long time, again, so it's got some bits of dough, but I use just this. It's a baking, I think it's called bread tin. It's just the standard one I bought from supermarket. It's nothing fancy. I make sandwich breads in these, obviously line up with the parchment paper, and then I use for banana breads or other quick breads. And also you can just bake a normal sourdough sandwich. It doesn't have to look like what you see sometimes on the internet, an oval shape sourdough, you know, that looks perfectly and so puffy. It doesn't always work that way in the real world. So that was quite helpful. That's Banneton Baskets. Other few things that I want to mention is the dough scraper. So I've got two. Again, this one came with this oval one. So it came with like, I think, no, I actually bought it separately, sorry. So I bought this one and I thought, oh yeah, it's great. And it was working. But then I started working on sourdough rye flour recipes, and they are very tough doughs to mix. And when I was mixing it, my one chipped. And then I thought, oh, that's why people have the steel ones or metal ones. But I kept this one. I don't really use it, but I'm just keeping that as a spare one. But then I ended up buying another set of two of them, and these are much more flexible. I also like that one of the shapes on the top is oval and the other side is straight, so you can just clean it up, mess after you've been working your dough on a worktop. It's easy to scrape around the bowl. This one also does a very good job. Obviously these little sharp bits, but not as good as this one. So I definitely would recommend to buy this one. Again, they're very cheap. I think you get most of them in a set. One of them could cost you only a couple of dollars, but you want a flexible one, and this is the best. Right, so the next thing that I would recommend getting it is, so I saw some people have the square shape proofing kind of containers, and I thought, wow, I think they're very actually expensive. So me being me, I thought there must be a better solution. So I was shopping in the supermarket one day and I found these really big, I think they're they're 4.5 liters. They're 4.5 liters, so they're really big. They're actually really big. They're actually food containers, so you, for example, you would probably store leftovers or maybe some food. But I thought because they're square, they could do the job where I would do my proofing in one of these. And what I like about them, they got a lid. So, you know, every time you're proofing, you have to cover that up. And what that means is like, if you don't have the lid for your container when you proof sourdough, that means you have to use a cling film. Tea towels, I mean, I'm not a fan of using them because they could end up drying out the top of the dough, and once the top of the dough is dry, it stops raising. It just kind of constricts them from growing the volume. So I found these are super useful. I probably paid maybe £2.50, which is about maybe $4, and I found them really useful. They eco-friendly if you think about cling film or other covers, so that was a really good investment. And if you buy more of them, you know, if you bake a lot of dough, sourdough, sorry, you can stack them up on the top of each other. So yes, very helpful. What else I can share with you? Another thing that I bought for sourdough, it was this. It's called Pullmans Loaf Tin. So they come with a lid, and what you do, you basically slide them on, and they come with a lid like this, and then you can take it out and you can make and bake a square shape sourdough sandwich breads. I use them actually a lot when I make sourdough challah. Smells like challah. And I found them extremely useful for that. I ended up buying, again, this was from Temu, and I paid about probably nearly $12 or $15. It's a much larger size and than the other one. So if you see, there's a difference in the size. So I would say if you buy one, I would recommend buying Pullmans Loaf Tin, but in a smaller size, because this one's I think 34 inches. So maybe like something like this size. It's about 20 inches, which I think would be much more useful. Another thing a lot of people using for sourdough baking is Dutch ovens, and I'll show a Dutch oven because I did not buy it, but my mum, she gave me one, and I want to show you. So basically I'll get one. So basically they are very heavy. So they're very heavy. So they come with a lid. So when you bake your sourdough, you put that in there, add some, I saw people adding ice cubes. Then you bake covered up about 20 minutes. And then you uncover and bake another 20 to 25 minutes, depending on how you bake. And they are very heavy. I don't know if that's La Croissant, famous French. Basically, they cast iron Dutch ovens, and people use them a lot. I saw them, some of them are specifically made for bread baking, and they're a bit more like longer type or shape, and they are really expensive. I think they go for nearly $200. So I mean, if you want to invest in them, absolutely do. I'm not saying that I will buy them in the future, but I don't know. When I start baking bread, I actually bake bread just in the oven using one of these, and they worked for me, because when you make sourdough, it doesn't always have to look how it looks online. You know, it could be just a square shape, which I think is much more practical on consuming bread on a daily basis. And quite recently I have tried baking in so I've been baking a little bit in a Dutch oven. It's great. I wouldn't say you have to have it. It's not as good as probably maybe people say it. I think if you used to sorry, if you used to bake sourdough with a Dutch oven, you might think, I don't know how I would do without it. But if you make bread without Dutch oven, you think, I don't know if I really need to. But again, if we go over and I have to tell you what exactly you need to get to make a great bread, I would say get one of these, you know, and they could come in a set with this, a dough scraper, one of my favorite tools. You must get one, honestly, definitely. And then I would say to get digital scales with the ones that, again, you can keep zeroing it down. Get one of the containers. I think they are very helpful. You don't have to get them. You can just groove in a mixing bowl and cover with tea towel or cling film. Definitely would recommend to get one of these tins. If you can, instead of buying that tin, I would just go ahead and buy Pullmans Loaf Tin, a bit smaller than my one, and use that for sandwiches, because you can bake without the lid. You can bake without the lid, but if you want to bake with the lid, you can do that as well. And these as well, I don't know if I pointed that out, but they come with these holes. So this is where the steam comes from. But yeah, they're very solid. They're really good. I like corrugated texture as well. I would buy those, and then start baking with the simple tools. And if you right now don't have money to buy Danish Hook, what can you use? You could use a spoon or a spatula. This obviously we have to get, we need to. You don't have a dough scraper? Just use a spoon to scrape it out excess dough. Lame, yes, I would definitely recommend getting it, but if you can't, just use the knife, or don't score it at all. It won't come out particularly well. The shape might be looking funny of the baked bread, but that's okay. And if you can, get one of these. If not, you can, I've seen people saying, you know, you got the oval one. I heard people saying they line up a tea towel or something in one of those sieves shape, the oval shape, and they use that. So having all these tools doesn't make you a better baker, but some of them do. So yes, get some of them. If you've got any questions, leave a comment below and I will be happy to answer them. I'm sorry for babble along, but I hope you found this helpful. This is just my personal opinion. I'm trying to be an expert in sourdough. I have a blog called yummysourdough.com. You're more than welcome to visit. I am doing loads of updates and trying to improve those recipes all the time. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you soon.